Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year and Happy MLK Day to you, Big Banks especially.
Thank you.
And goings on, happenings all over in the world of politics. We're just joining you for the first show of 2020. You've probably been following the impeachment stuff, which we'll get to. But first and foremost, since we're sitting right now in the great state of Virginia, the Commonwealth, we'd like to talk about the Second Amendment stuff going on in the State House in Richmond right now. A lot of folks, mass gathering in Richmond today, partially in response to the state legislature's push on gun confiscations, reduction of gun rights, and other kind of control measures that probably are not going to work, of course. Virginia, as part of the South, as you know, you've lived in the South, as a South Carolinian, you know, pretty staunch and pretty strong on gun rights and Second Amendment rights.
We love our Second Amendment.
Yosemite Sam. It's Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite. Yeah, Yosemite Sam. The roughest, toughest he-man, stuffest hombre has ever crossed the Rio Grande. And I ain't no mamby-pamby. Now all of you skunks, clear out of here.
That is changing, of course, and it's changed very fast. It's become abundantly clear after the 2018 election when the state Republicans in Virginia were hammered pretty hard, and the Democrats, of course, closer to those Beltway counties, which comprise a mass population of Virginia. We're in Alexandria right now. That's Alexandria, Fairfax, Prince William County, and all those other places.
Faulkner.
They're gaining a real stronghold. The Democrats are in Virginia, and they have made no bones about it. They are pushing control measures, gun control measures, and really starting to jeopardize Second Amendment rights. Well, the populace of this state, they are not taking it lying down.
22,000 gun rights supporters came out today, many armed to the teeth, some dressed in fatigues. Others had handguns on their hips.
I carry it with me every day.
And rifles draped across their chests.
You see people that want to stand up and keep their guns because it's our right to do that, defend ourselves in a time of danger.
So very good. People are out there protecting their constitutional rights to bear arms. Mr. Ralph Kuhlman Northam, the governor of the state, who infamous now for last year's blackface incidents, looked like he loved blackface just like Prime Minister Trudeau up there in Canada, and a lot of other left-leaning politicians, a lot of other Dems and liberals seem to love the blackface. Media personalities, Jimmy Kimmel. But I digress, nevertheless. He declared a state of emergency and set up a perimeter around the State House.
No guns on the State House.
No guns on the grounds of the State House. But people came armed nonetheless. Funny how there were no incidents, no security incidents. This is a far cry from what was expected if you were to tune in to mainstream media sources.
Well, I think, Governor Northam is going to claim victory because if he did not do the state of emergency, he feels like maybe something would have happened. So he's going to claim victory in this situation. That's what I believe in.
He's got to look like he's being proactive, and he look like he's really taking a
hard stance.
A hard stance, and because we can't have another incident like Charlottesville of 2017. So in here we had Black Guns Matter folks, the Maj Torres. You had some Black Panther members all showing up to kind of further this idea, this very true idea that gun rights are also black rights.
Exactly.
And the Black Panthers of the 1960s and 70s knew this. The Stokely Carmichaels and Huey Newtons, they knew this to be clear.
My
when
father
they were in
knew
Oakland.
it.
Yeah.
I know it. I have 2 guns.
And you look at the historical ramifications of gun control and what it does. The media is being very obtuse and very kind of knowingly dishonest with their reporting on these sort of stories. You can say that gun crime is an issue. You can say that gun crime is horrible and school shootings shouldn't happen. Of course, everyone agrees with that. But is it the lawful, law-abiding gun owners, and is it the NRA members who are out there doing those crimes? The answer is invariably not.
Well, let's look at some real, data when it comes to gun crimes. I mean, long guns are not the guns of choice when people are being victimized by a gun. It's always handguns. So if you're really going to ban anything, it's handguns. So, Ralph North and the bill decided to say you can only buy one handgun a month in Virginia right now. And you also look at other data too as well that unfortunately it's the black community who are more victimized by gun violence than any other community. They want to use this narrative that, you have a lot of white racists or Aryans going into black neighborhoods or just doing crazy stuff in general, but it's really, black on black crime.
It's a criminal element in places like Detroit, places like Baltimore, Milwaukee, Chicago, DC. This is, this is not the law-abiding gun owner committing these crimes. It's the person who probably does have a rap sheet, probably does have a history going, and he is probably not even legally able to carry a gun outside of the local jurisdictional restrictions. So casting false narratives is what the media has become really good at, really solid at. They used Parkland to the worst advantage of the media narrative and the left-leaning narrative of more restrictions and more gun control. But I think people are starting to see through this, and what you saw in Richmond today was quite telling.
And I guess I just have to say this one piece. If you limit gun control, that means there's no guns. And the only people who can get guns are the criminals. So if you tell me we're in a gun-free zone and there's no guns and there's no guns, the criminal's going to come in.
You're opening it up to mass shootings, to terrorism, to all sorts of other things. It is like it's an advertisement. You can go and run roughshod over this community center, this school, this facility of any side, the shopping mall, and no one's going to shoot back. Well, we will see what happens there. It's really, on this particular matter, on this particular topic, get your varied sources. Don't buy the mainstream CNN, NBC, CBS kind of, even PBS kind of thing they're pushing. They were talking about radicals out there, neo-Nazis and Klansmen showing up. Wasn't so. No incidents of violence. So quite telling. Stay strong with your Second Amendment rights, of course, as you know from historical examples, Soviet Union, China, Cambodia, Nazi Germany, all of these other examples.
More recent, Venezuela. Just Venezuela.
Once your gun rights are gone, once you've relinquished that right to the government, you ain't getting them back, and that's the steady kind of stream of other rights being taken from you. That's so fundamental. So, impeachment. Now the articles have been delivered.
Oh man, they marched them across.
They were somber. They were stoic. They were walking across the chamber floor, the House floor, to deliver the articles, and they're going to the Senate now, where they will fail spectacularly given the composition of the Senate. Quite interesting how now, after Pelosi's gamesmanship, which looked like it was a total failure, there was, it was the urgency talked about by Schiff and Pelosi, and maybe Nadler to a lesser extent. But after all of that push and all of that drive, there was not an urgency. Let's wait until the middle part of January now. Now we're getting into late January. So now the Senate is supposed to act expediently on this.
Yeah, and call more witnesses?
Call more witnesses. That's the other thing. The witnesses were supposed to all be... The proof was there. What happened? If it's so weak, why was it formalized and finalized in the House, and why did it pass the House on essentially a party line vote?
I guess for me, if they really wanted to do it right, stop the impeachment, start it over, bring the witnesses back in, kind of do it all over again, or just do an addendum to the impeachment and say, hey, we want these called, and then, wrap it up, then send it over. Don't ask for more witnesses and then go.
The two articles were weak. Obstruction of Congress and other, nothing here rises to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors. I think that's pretty obvious. That's abundantly clear, and I think people are starting to see it. Even middle of the road kind of
I think the
analysts who are not very partisan, they're starting to see that this is ridiculous.
I think the funny part when you obstruction of Congress, when the executive branch and the legislative branch have an issue, they always take it to the court. Well, they did take it to the court. They're not allowing the court to actually give a ruling. So, but how can you obstruct Congress when the court has not said you have obstruct Congress and give over the document? So, the things that Congress may need to make a good understanding about this article.
You cannot the Andrew Johnson impeachment, the Bill Clinton impeachment, you at least had a measure of bipartisanship. You do not see that at all with the Trump impeachment, even in the House. Three House members changed over and voted against impeachment. Democrats said no to impeachment. Historically, this is not great. This is not going to bode well for the Dems. I think there will be probably a little bit of a reckoning when election time comes. And the other fact is that we're 10 months away from the general election, the 2020 presidential election. It's just 10 short months away. So I don't know what the dilly-dallying about was, but Pelosi really has some egg on her face here and probably has some explaining to do.
The egg might actually tighten up her skin.
She's probably caught between a rock and a hard place with antagonism from Republicans, obviously, for her antics and what she's doing, and then the radical leftist wing of the Democratic Party, the Omars and AOCs, and those newfangled House members are trying to get some of these older congressional members to push even further left, and they're not complying. So it doesn't look good for the Dems. Trump will probably beat this out.
And the impeachment is going to last, a couple of weeks, a week or so. It starts, Tuesday?
Right. It was all about, it's all about procedures, trial procedures and things like that. Where the House of Representatives, the Democratic-led House, has no leverage. The Senate will, even if the Senate's going to use their similarly based rules that were used in the House, it's going to be the reverse, because of course the president did not receive a fair hearing and a fair run through.
Yeah, he was not allowed to call witnesses. He was not allowed to have his attorneys there present to take notes during the secret hearings. None of these things. So it was pretty much leaned to.
Nadler has said thus far that Hunter Biden is not a germane witness. We'll see about that. I think that would probably be the best strategy for the Republican-led Senate. Go ahead and let's get some witnesses in here. We want this set of witnesses. No, if they're not going to testify, or if they're not going to give any credible testimony or testimony at all, then the whole thing's shot.
I just think they just need to read the transcripts, have their argument, and let people vote. That's it. No more witnesses.
And the funny thing about this was the money to the Ukraine was eventually released. It was delayed, but it was released and it was handed over to the Ukraine. We're talking about foreign policy dealings. We're talking about diplomacy. Other stuff happens. If you want to play this game of what's ethical and what's not ethical in the world of diplomacy, we would be talking about impeachment, and we will be talking about impeachment for each and every administration from here on out, because given historical context and past diplomatic acts and what the Obama administration, Clinton, Bush administrations, Reagan, Carter, the kind of things that were done diplomatically with their administrations in their engagements and in their actions in foreign countries, raises a lot of questions and concerns. It's never been this big of an issue, but of course, because it's the orange man bad and hate Trump, this is the only way we can get him. We probably can't win the 2020 election, so
we impeach him.
So we gotta impeach. This is probably what it all boils down to. You're talking about the Democratic debates. It seems like every month they try to foist one of these new Democratic debates on us. The most recent one, January's version, was the oldest, the widest, and the smallest field of candidates. We had the Klobuchars, Warrens, Steyers, and Bernieses. And Bidenses of the world, a eclectic mix of old white people.
Did Bloomberg?
Bloomberg did not qualify for this one, nor did the young mayor of South Bend, Buttigieg, did not either. But didn't see much of this one. Admittedly, skipped this one out.
I just watched the highlights.
The highlights were good enough. We had Liz Warren absolutely on a tear, very, very dislikable woman. Take a look at this little exchange she had towards the end of the debate.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have that discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not do it now.
Overnight, CNN released that audio.
And treating, I think it could be said that Bernie Sanders was kind of cornered in. He was partially cornered in by Warren here, but I do not believe he was treated fairly by CNN and the moderators. I mean, he was asked the question about whether he thought a woman could be president or could not be president. He clarified the context of what he said. I don't think Bernie Sanders, of all people, would discount or would disqualify a person to be president just because of his or her gender. But really, he was cornered, and the moderator did not do a great job of moderating.
No.
And it seems like CNN is just completely shilling now for a shill for the Warren campaign. Seems like they're in the bought and paid for, right?
I thought a moderator is a person who gives the questions out.
Gives the questions out.
That's it. Just give the question out.
And has to formulate, has to kind of think on his or her toes. The moderator there in the last Democratic debate did not formulate her follow-up question in relation to Sanders' response. It was just shifted over to Warren. What do you think about
what he said?
What do you think about what Bernie said in the past? No. Sanders just gave you a clarification, and you didn't accept the clarification for anything.
But I think it's very funny because you think about how they talk about equality, diversity, all these good things, all these flowery things to bring people together. But then yet you use it against Bernie to say that you're not the person who's doing the right things when it comes to how you treat a woman and what you expect of a woman. It's like, wait a minute, I'm the man who speaks for women equality. I'm the socialist here for a fair level for everything, but yet you're telling me I'm not treating a woman fairly? I thought it was kind of crazy.
And don't get us wrong, we're not Bernie Sanders policy fans by any stretch of the imagination, but when you really break down 2016 and now the lead up to 2020, raises some questions. It seems like the deck is stacked against Bernie Sanders. I think the Clinton process, I think it was kind of all already preordained, right? The whole process with Hillary Clinton getting the nod. I think you're seeing that all over again. I think that the powers that be, the media strong suits are and power players are all still kind of pushing for this. We need a woman to be leading the ticket, and she's not the best candidate based on answers and based on her back and forth and her inconsistencies and the fact that she's adopted a lot of plans. She's stolen a lot of ideas from plans that others have proposed and others like Sanders have put forward.
I think my thing is that the main thing that I have a problem with is how you're going to pay for it. You know, I'm enjoying my tax cut, not just that, the little raise that I might have received from my employer. But the problem is that all these great ideas, and I understand, but these great ideas has a cost.
When you're starting to get into the trillions, I think yes. Any response they give is questionable, and I think the media is not adequately challenging these candidates on those points, on the overall cost.
And, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I know basic math. If the United States is taking about $4 trillion in tax dollars, but some of these plans cost $10 to $15 to $20 trillion to push out, we're missing some money here. How are we going to fill the gap?
Yeah. It's really interesting. I think these are softball debates. I don't think we need to see more of these debates. One a month is a little ridiculous.
We need to see more because it gets comical after a while.
True. It's good for comic relief. I think it's and even Mr. Van Jones here was his take after the most recent CNN debate.
We are back here in Des Moines, Iowa, talking about the debate that was. Van, was it different than you? It was much different than you expected. Than a lot of us expected.
I have to just say, I came away feeling worried for the Democratic Party. I felt like tonight was a night that they were going to all put the fireworks out there. You're going to see the best of the best. And it just felt like a big bowl of cold oatmeal. And I got to say this, I missed Andrew Yang tonight. I miss Cory Booker.
All right, who wins the drinking game?
And I miss Cory Booker. And I miss Kamala Harris, and I miss Castro. I miss some of those voices and some of those issues of immigration and criminal justice. There's something that this party's got to figure out. How can it light that fire again? This felt like drudgery tonight. It shouldn't feel this way close to one of the most important elections in the country. Tonight, for me, was dispiriting. The Democrats got to do better than what we saw tonight. There was nothing I saw tonight that would be able to take Donald Trump out, and I want to see a Democrat in the White House as soon as possible. There was nothing tonight that if you're looking at this thing, you say any of these people are prepared for what Donald Trump is going to do to us, and to see further division tonight is very dispiriting.
From your vantage point, watching that, no one on that stage in your mind, walked away as that's the person who can go touch.
I'm thinking people I think about every day, places like Oakland and Philadelphia, whatever. Can any of those people get excited about what I saw tonight? And I don't see it. And I have to be honest about it. I don't see it. We got to do.
There you go. None of these people are up to the primetime challenge of taking on Trump. There you go. From a former Obama administration official. Imagine that. None of these candidates. I don't know if the writing is on the wall, but it seems this is kind of a weak field.
I think it's funny that, here's a photo of Van Jones standing behind President Trump after the first step, the crime bill to reduce prison population. He's smiling in this photo.
He loves that.
He loves that, yeah.
And after Election Day, it was a whole, what is after Election Day? How am I going to explain this to my daughter? Well, explain to her that your person, your favorite person, did not win. Explain to her that Hillary Clinton was an atrocious candidate and we should all be blessed that she did not ascend to the presidency.
But I think it's a great lesson to all kids and all young adults that everybody cannot be winners.
That's true. In life, you have to have losers. And as we thankfully found out in November of 2016, Hillary Clinton was a major loser. So we'll keep following the Democratic debates. Well, no more Booker, no more Harris. Yang did not qualify based on these new dual kind of requirements.
But Yang got a new supporter though.
Who does Yang have?
David Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle is part of the Yang gang. Imagine that. It's good stuff, really. I mean, that's legitimate. That's better than. I think there's a little bit of disingenuous kind of parlaying of attitudes with Rapinoe, the captain of the U.S. soccer team, going on the Warren team Warren.
Yeah, I have a problem with Yang though. I mean, he's not full blown socialism. He's socialism like. He wants to give everybody a living wage.
Math. Make America think harder. That's going to be on the blue caps now. They've developed the blue caps.
Yeah, but he wants to give everybody $1,000.
Yeah. Don't know if that UBI, Universal Basic Income, I don't know if that's workable. I don't think you can compare that to examples in I believe it was Finland. Finland is one of the attempted UBIs around the world. I don't know of any other strong examples, but we're a different demographic. We're a much larger country. Still, the American credo, the American philosophy has been work to propel yourself, work to get yourself ahead.
Capitalism.
It's different than the European social safety net kind of system. Those are much more, those are much smaller countries population-wise. They have their own set of issues, but they're not a country of people they're not countries of immigrants like we are. So I think that the taking away that work ethic credo is a little dangerous to a large extent.
Well, you look at it like this. When you look at the welfare programs, that's like, giving you $1,000 a month to some degree. It kills your drive to actually go be a go-getter.
Correct.
To create, to actually...
Even if you're not a go-getter, why am I going to go work at the fast food restaurant for $11.50 an hour when I'm making the equivalent of $11.50 an hour?
Just sitting at home.
Just to sit at home. There's a lot of other issues with that.
And I think the biggest problem with Yang's, who's going to pay for that, Because the money has to come from somewhere. And if you say you're going to tax a corporation more money to give somebody to sit at home because they feel like they need a living wage, whatever he calls it, they just pack up and move like they did last time, and there goes the business, and there goes our source of income. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. I would rather see more Yang. I would rather see some others. Even Buttigieg makes things a little more interesting. I think the vanilla pasty field of five that you saw the other day was not what the Democratic Party needs. I think that's going to turn a lot of people off, not just because of the racial composition. Ideologically, they're going pretty far left. They're pretty radical left. I don't think they are reading the general public very well. I don't think they're reading, the small cities in Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio very well at all, the states that Clinton lost in 2016. So it might come to hurt them, but are they banking on just mass immigration and minority populations? Are they banking on those kind of things?
No, they're banking on that. These kids who were not eligible to vote when Trump became president.
Youth.
That's who they.
Funny how a 92-year-old man like Sanders is getting so much youth
He's
support.
92?
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but clearly the colleges, clearly the institutions are not teaching young people about what makes America great. That's a little bit scary there. But I don't know, Steyer and Bloomberg and the other rich guys just dangling their money out there. Those are a couple interesting cases as well. I thought Klobuchar was going to go for the middle of the road kind of folks. I think she's hard to peg as well. I think some of her responses are probably the best politician kind of responses. We also have Gabbard out there, who's a little bit of a wild card. She's angered a lot of Democrats.
But did you see her doing push-ups?
She was doing some push-ups. That was impressive. Here you go. Take a look. But she's angered a lot of folks by challenging Hillary Clinton's assertion that she's a Russian asset, going on Fox News a little too much, and doing all those other things. And also, I think it gives her a little more street cred.
Also, during the impeachment vote, she just voted present. She didn't vote.
That's true.
A lot of people's upset about that.
Missed that one. Yeah, that's very true. So we'll stay with you as 2020's campaign rolls on. It's going to be interesting, but big banks, I think you've already got your 2020 selection made for November, right?
Yeah.
And that's a famous orange-haired politician who Mr. Big Banks might be leaning towards. I think he's already got his mind made up. So for Mr.
Big Banks,
I am Stroobs. We will catch you next time, folks.
Peace.
Thanks.